Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the podcast where we talk about the USMNT and la Selección Mexicana. My name is Adrian, and I'm joined again by my co-host here and fellow tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, dude. Always
Always
great.
100?
Always 100. Always great. And glad to be back here with you.
Likewise, man. Always a pleasure. Um, obviously, we just recorded, and you can go catch that episode 1, World Cup Post Mortem Part 1, where we discussed, our successes and failures for the U.S. and the Selección Mexicana at the World Cup. Kind of went into, what we think they did right, what we think they did wrong, what we feel like, can be implemented to kind of move us forward, and get us ready for 2026. Um, so make sure y'all go check out that video. Make sure y'all subscribe, comment, and let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong.
Smash that like button.
Smash it, man. You know it. So this episode is episode 2, World Cup Postmortem Part 2. We're going to be covering a lot of information here. Thoughts, we're going to go more in depth on what we think, the team should do going forward, 2023 and beyond. There's the lack of World Cup qualifying this year, or this cycle. So what can the teams do to prepare for that 2026 World Cup, where we're all expecting big things, since, they're going to be playing here at home. Coaches, there a lot has been said about Greg. Is he staying? Is he going? We're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss, who are the candidates to replace him, and who are the candidates to replace Tata Martino, who obviously is out, and not a moment too soon.
Thank God. Thank God, man.
We're going to discuss some news that released this week about the team, the U.S. team, some drama in the locker room, some drama that you really normally don't see in the U.S. team, who you normally think of.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of weird. I kind of like it. That proves that, it's kind of growing as a soccer country, man. Like you used to not see this. So I'm glad there's some drama, some fire in these guys.
Hey, I do have to say though, be careful what you wish for, man, because next thing you know, va a estar igual o peor que la selección mexicana.
No, hombre, güey. Ojalá y no. And we're going to be thinking of talking about future plans again, just long term. So, with that, we'll get right into topic 1. Berhalter, should he stay? Should he go? Adriana, let's just start it off. I know you were more positive about him than I was when he was appointed, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Sure. I want to start, by saying, like, leaving the drama out that we recently heard, between Berhalter and one of the players. I honestly was 100% behind and on board the Greg Berhalter Express. I really think that Triple G, not Golovkin, but Greg Berhalter, he brought a style of play that was never a feature for the U.S. national team. I think he met expectations. He grabbed the team who was, in shambles. He pretty much built it up back to being a competitive, strong team. I think his performance in the qualifiers was more than satisfactory. I think it exceeded expectations. We saw a good couple of games against top brass. Like, for example, when they went and played in the Confederations Cup, they put up a good fight against the European sides for sure. The fact that they defeated Mexico twice on 2 consecutive finals, also, to me, it's a strong argument to, make Greg Berhalter a no-nonsense backup material coach. So, I mean, all in all, man, I think he was not shy of being of making his team have the most possession of the ball. Like he wasn't like solely relying on athleticism. He was changing that gear or making that shift in the player mentality of, look, we are physical, we are athletic, because in every single sport in the States, you are an athlete first, and then you are
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
basketball player, soccer player, um, football player, whatever you name it, right? You're first an
Athleticism
athlete,
is prioritized before technical skill.
definitely. But with Berhalter, we saw a shift in that mentality. We saw a change. So I think that before the whole drama happened, to me it was like it's a no-brainer decision. Yes, he's a green coach. He's young. He doesn't have as much experience as other candidates, right? But I think this World Cup was good, a good stepping stone for him. I think the next 3 years and a half could be a great prep for him as well. And it will also provide him with the platform to show that he can grow as a national team, as a national coach. Sorry. Um, Now, hearing about the drama between him and Gio Reyna, now it makes me wonder, is it really a no-brainer decision to bring him back? Um, like, granted, uh, he's the coach, and he gets to make the calls, right? Whether they're good or bad, he has that right because he is the coach.
For sure.
But also thinking of it, it's man, it's just a situation of I think the locker room is broken,
Yeah, I
and
think the trust is gone, right?
yeah, definitely, definitely. Like even if Reina was acting up and being a brat or whatever, even if his teammates notice that, right? Now they know that whatever he said in that locker room, it's gonna get spoiled. It's gonna get talked about. Someone is gonna be the whistleblower,
The
and
chicharito.
unfortunately, in this case, is Berhalter. So even if he has a great rapport with some of the leaders of the group, I think he crossed a bridge, he crossed the line that he should have never done. Like if he really wanted to retain his job, which I think he wants. Nonetheless, I heard that he's also pondering going back to coaching
Europe.
club.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Europe, because I think he has really good ties in Europe too. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, to me, he was a great archetype, prototype for the American coach. Um, he backstabbed his players, and I just think that this if they choose to stick with him in the short term, I think is going to be very dangerous for the U.S. national team.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll burn the progress that they've made here in the last 4 years for sure. So quick follow up to what you said.
Hmm.
You're not necessarily against. There's people that say, "Oh man, a coach shouldn't be coached for more than one World Cup cycle." You're not necessarily against that. You think a coach can
No,
be a coach for as long as they want to, right?
look to me, national coaches, like even at club, but for national coaches, I think if you really want to see change, like if you really want to see like a style of game implemented and permeating or protruding or going through the different ranks of the national team, right? Under 17s, under 20s, under 23, even the academies and whatnot, like under 12s, under 15, all of them, right? You at least have to allow that coach to be there for 8 years. And I think the World Cup is also proof that all those teams, I think with the exception of maybe Morocco, that and of course, yeah, I think Morocco. But anyways, all those teams that made it to the quarterfinals had coaches who have been there for the last 8 years. So statistically speaking, that goes to show that coaches who tend to stay longer than a term have better results because they have built up a team who knows exactly what they're playing to, and they understand the style of game, the game or the style of play the coach wants to implement. So yeah, I hate, I really dislike the fact that, for example, in the Mexican national team is always a every single 4 years they kick the coach out and then they bring a new one, and it's start all over from scratch. Like there's no foundation built, there's nothing that sticks with with the with the team whatsoever. So yeah, I'm not opposed, um, as I've candidly voiced, against having a coach 2 terms. Like, look at Uruguay, man. They had freaking Tavares for I don't know how many World
12
Cups, like
years or
three
something.
consecutive World Cups.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, Uruguay, it might be an outlier because of being a freaking small country and producing I don't know bazillion of outstanding players. Um, but yeah, I mean numbers are there, man.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's numbers to back up your claim for sure. Like Didier Deschamps with France, his back-to-back World Cup, finals, um, and
Southgate,
Southgate, yeah, Van Gaal, who
Chiche,
I think Van Gaal took over a couple years ago, but he was their coach 8 years ago, so he's had
yeah.
experience with this squad. But back to Triple G here. Us better than anyone because we've talked about this in length before off camera. That I was never really the biggest supporter when he was appointed. First of all, I wasn't really a supporter of how he was appointed. They failed to qualify for the World Cup. Then they fired Bruce Arena. Then they had, I think his name was Saruchan, the interim head coach for like 8 months while they were
Yeah,
doing
that
this
guy.
big search, this big
Yeah.
search that they publicized. Oh man, we're doing this big, massive search for a quality coach. Everybody thought, man, who's this going to be? It's going to be some huge European name, or somebody that's going to bring a lot of knowledge and experience to the squad. And all of a sudden it's Greg Berhalter, the brother of one of the somebody that's on the board for U.S. Soccer Federation. Um,
Mm,
so that always stung me wrong, and
petate quemado.
yeah, and kind of gave me a bad taste in the mouth to say, did this guy really earn it on merit, or is he just because of his connections.
Nepotism.
I can't say I followed him much. I know he was Columbus Crew coach. I know he had some success there. I can't tell you his record. I can't tell you if he's won a championship. I can't recall. I think he did win one championship with them. But it's obviously different coaching club than it is coaching country, and especially coaching MLS to coaching uh,
Definitely, man.
national team. So initially I wasn't a fan of his performances in the World Cup qualifying. He always sold us on possession based, tiki taka based. We're gonna be a team no one wants to play against. We're gonna have possession, and I never really saw that. I saw it in instances in World Cup qualifying, or sometimes when they played against Mexico, but never like to the point where I was like, man, this guy's it's more of the same. He's wasting our great talent that we have in Europe. And I will give credit to where credit is due, and say that in the World Cup he surprised me, man. Like I said in the previous episode, I don't think it was a success. I don't think it was a failure. I think we met expectation, but I definitely think it was a success how we played. We dominated most
Hmm.
of all the games we had.
Yeah,
Um, we could have taken an early lead against Netherlands with our high press if Pulisic, hadn't unfortunately missed that. But the
man.
high that's going to haunt him. The high
Yeah,
press we played, the possession we played when we didn't have the ball. I think the first game against Wales, we played so bad in the second half because for 60 minutes we were killing it, man. Like we had the ball all the time, and if we didn't, we were running our asses off to get that ball back. So the players got tired. They managed it better against England. They, for the most part, dominated against England, and they completely dominated against Iran. Uh, but I'll give credit to him. Like he said, he wanted to play possession, and when it mattered the most, he implemented it, and it worked. Um, but uh, before the whole Giovanni Reina thing happened, I thought I was on board of it's time for him to go. Like, thank you for what you did. You made a good foundation. You recruited some players like Musa, Dest, who were critical
just
for
yeah.
us, who played
Mhm.
amazing. And without you, we wouldn't have recruited them. So awesome, thank you. But now it's time. I think it's time for somebody with a little more experience that could take us that one extra level, especially going to the World Cup here in the States. Um, but even after the Gio Reyna thing, it was like there's no way he can stay. Like you said, he's broken the trust. He's leaked something secretive from the locker room that should have be handled, internally,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
irreversible, man. So I think the job is an attractive job, both Selección Mexicana's job and the U.S. men's national team's job, just because, man, you're guaranteed if you get hired as a coach, you're guaranteed to go to the next World Cup. You don't have to stress about World Cup qualifying. You're guaranteed to perform in your home World Cup. Like that's something amazing. Like as a coach, that's like, man, I want that.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you're guaranteed a World Cup, and for the U.S. team, I think whoever gets the coaching job is going to inherit a program that hit rock bottom 4 years ago, like Mexico hit this year, but that implemented changes and has sent many, many, many players to Europe. Has now qualified for the Olympics for the first time in like 8 years. Has qualified for the youth, I think 17 World Cup for the first time in years. So that's proving that whatever changes they made 8 years or 4 years ago at the World Cup, it's
It's paying off.
dando fruta. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
giving fruit or giving yeah, blessings, the
Dividends.
dividends. Yeah. So I think it's gonna be an attractive job, and that leads us to who's gonna be the next coach if it's not Berhalter. There's a lot of names being called out right now. Some big names, some smaller MLS names, but I don't think they're going to go with another MLS guy. Personally, I think it's going to be we have to do well at this next World Cup. We have to build on this momentum. So I think they're going to, the names being called out right now. I'm gonna focus more on the bigger names, some American
Hmm.
names, but kind of what's being called out right now. This one is kind of a long shot, but Marcelo Bielsa is being called out.
Ah,
He has some experience, in the Premier League with Leeds. He knows English. He plays a really different style of football that we'll get into. Pep Guardiola, who studied at NYU, has previously mentioned before that he was interested in the project here. That he thought it was what we were doing here in the States was great, and that he follows it. Um, Jaco, the old Mexico coach,
yeah.
Osorio,
I miss him so much, dude. You have no idea how much I miss him, man.
he has European experience, MLS experience. He speaks English, speaks the language. I think he'd be a good fit for La Selección Mexicana or for US.
I
Jesse
agree.
Marsh, who replaced Bielsa at Leeds, who is probably the most successful US American coach in Europe. Has Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson playing for him.
Yeah.
Roberto Martinez,
Man,
who
come on, dude. Is he
he just got.
really, is he really a contender for the freaking job?
Hey man, that's what some articles are saying. And
God.
so yeah, I mean, right off the top of your head from those names that I kind of mentioned, what are your thoughts on any of them?
Look, I think Bielsa is always like a like at this point in time, I think that you know, um,
He's a wild
freaking
card, right?
yeah, and it's always like reporters like to put his name because I think he's the kind of guy who will take like these kind of challenges. Like he doesn't like dull moments. He was Chile's manager, and he
Right.
revamped that team.
Yeah, for sure, for
Pretty
sure.
much set up the stepping stones for that great Chilean generation that won two Copa Americas back to
Two
back.
Copa Americas, yeah.
Uh-huh. And I just think that it's a name that is always going to be there because he is a uh, he's like a not guy, right? He's very different from everyone, and I think he has established like a school of thought on football. So I think it's just one of those names that like, all right, we're gonna throw him because why the hell not, right? Um, Guardiola, I think Guardiola more than Bielsa is the longest shot, just because I think Guardiola right now is in a position where he might like what the U.S. national team is doing, but he's also at a very comfortable job right now.
And he just
Um,
signed a long-term extension.
exactly. So like he's at a team where he just says, hey, you know what? I want this player. Here you go. You have it. Hey, I need this player. It's essentially like you have an open checkbook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whoever you want to hire, we're gonna go and get it for you because you know you're a spoiled coach, and we're gonna get you whatever you want. So I think it will be very difficult, very cumbersome to convince Guardiola to leave Manchester City and join the US. Would you know, if whatever happens and he ends up being the national coach, um, I still think that it might not be the best option just because his style of play requires constant training. Like it needs to be a very repetitive process of all players engaging on that specific style of play and repeating it once, twice, three times, four times, like for long periods of time to really understand and find that cohesiveness that he likes. So I think it's a long stretch.
You don't
As
think
far
he
as
can
Jesse,
build? You don't think he can build on? I'm not by any means comparing Triple G to Guardiola, but that's what he wanted to play, that tiki taka possession based football, which he kind of implemented. You don't think he could build on that, or you think Guardiola's more of a, hey, I need to see you every day at training to get this thing done?
that's exactly what I think. I think that Guardiola is the kind of coach is like I don't really think he's going to be successful at any national team whatsoever. Maybe just Spain, and it's just because Spain has that Barcelona DNA very much ingrained on a lot of their players. But that's the reason why I don't think he's going to be successful in any freaking national team, just because he's the kind of coach who is such a perfectionist that he wants you to be training every single day of the year on that specific thing that he wants you to do, right?
Right.
He's that kind of guy. So I just feel that he's not gonna have enough time. He's not gonna have enough pool to, I don't know, like every freaking summer call the players and be like, hey, you're gonna be committed to a 3 month long training period. Like you're not gonna
Right.
have
Right.
vacations. You're not gonna have time off. You're gonna come back to the States and we're gonna train here. We're gonna play against, I don't know, maybe like a good side or whatever. But you have to make a commitment, right? And then on top of that is he I think he's also like, even though he has an open checkbook to get whichever player he wants, he's also limited to the pool of players he has available in Man City. With the national team is he's gonna have to marry a roster of 23 players for the most part, right?
Yeah,
If he
you're
wants to
stuck with
implement
who you get. You can't go wait till January transfer window in the summer and buy whoever you want. You're missing piece.
exactly,
If you don't have it, you don't have it.
exactly, and on top of that is a situation of, all right, if I want my team to be playing a specific style of game, specific style of play, um, I'm gonna need repetition, and I'm gonna need to have the same 23 players on training every single time I call them, right? So it could be also a situation of he's gonna marry 23 guys who might not be on the best performance at the point in time when they get called up. But since he is adamant on having the same team and performing the same style of play every single time,
Mm,
he might be. I think this is just my assumption. He might be leaning or biased on who is getting called up. Like for example, I don't know. Let's just set up an example. Maybe Tyler Adams is not having a great 2025-2026 season, but he's getting constantly called up to the U.S. because Guardiola wants him and he thinks that, Ty Adams, it's the glue of the team. So
right.
I feel that that could be the situation with him. Um, as far as Jesse Marsh and Martinez, look, Martinez to me is like, I don't think Martinez should get any job, period. Like after 8 years in Belgium and wasting that
Wasting
much,
that
yeah,
golden
that
generation.
talent and then gold
Yeah.
generation, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to find a job at a, good
National team.
national team. He probably is
I
gonna
agree.
go to
Mhm.
freaking, yeah. He's probably gonna go to Qatar or Saudi Arabia, the United Emirates Arab,
Or he'll go back to
one of those.
club.
Exactly. But even
Yeah.
going back to club, I don't think he's gonna get
No,
a
no, no,
top
no.
notch.
He didn't do
Uh,
well at Everton.
exactly.
Yeah, so he just had one good season with I think it was Wigan. A couple good seasons
And
with
then
them.
as far as Jesse March go, I mean, I don't really know him that much. I really hope that he continue building up a career at Leeds. I Maybe he's a good candidate just because he is a U.S. national, because he might understand the idiosyncrasy of the U.S. national player, and he's also close. I mean, I'm pretty sure he has maybe close ties with European people,
Yeah.
European important people, where he can get some decent friendlies outside of the states. But I think I fear we might be in the same position as with Greg Berhalter, being a green coach, not that much experience, giving him a huge responsibility, and then expecting the best out of him. So there's one last that you mentioned, and that's el profesor Juan Carlos Osorio. Um, Honestly, look, I I would love for him to be back at the Mexican national team, but as much as I would love him to be there, I think he's better off at a place like the U.S. national team. Um, I 100% agree with you. He is European trained. He has MLS experience. I think he was coaching either the New York City FC or one of those teams at the Upper East Coast of the
Or
U.S.
Red Bulls or
Uh,
something, right?
he has World Cup experience. He is a well-educated soccer football
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
um, and you know he is a técnico de procesos. After all, like he says it. He's publicly he has mentioned that he likes having long processes where he has enough time to implement his idea, where he's able to convince players of his ideology and the things that he wants to implement. He is the reason why some of the young lads in Mexico went to Europe because of his connections and network and whatnot. So I think,
yeah,
to me, Juan Carlos Osorio is a no-brainer for the U.S. national team. Um, he has a great record with Mexico. He understands CONCACAF. He,
yeah. Hmm.
he's a guy who's gonna use data to the best to achieve the best performance of each player. So, and on top of that, I'm pretty sure that with his help, the U.S. can exponentially increase the number of player exports to any European team.
Yeah, he
So,
definitely to tackle on something you said here, he prioritizes youth for sure. If you compare him to how Tata Martino selected his squads for Mexico, uh, Tata Martino's squads were a lot older.
hell
And
yeah,
Profesorio, he believes in youth, and like you said, he has a lot of connections to help send the young lads to Europe and to develop. Even again, if it's not in the top tier teams, just being in Europe is better and more more
exactly.
competitive for these guys. Um, but no, man, I agree with your points. I don't really have much more to add to that. You covered it really well. For me, it's a no brainer. Juan Carlos Osorio should be, hopefully, at least one of them, if not USA's, La Selección Mexicana's coach. I don't know if La Federación will go back and choose somebody they've already gotten, but we'll talk about that. But definitely, no one else on the list makes sense for me. Guardiola, obviously, I mean, if we get him, that'd be a complete shock, and that'd be a
Yeah,
blockbuster move.
I agree.
Bielsa would be. It's either going to go extremely well or extremely bad. He's an old school coach. Jesse Marsh, again, like you said, I don't want him to leave Europe. He's doing well out there. Keep growing the game out there for U.S. coaches. And Martinez, no, please don't let him touch the team. He
No, hell
wasted a
no,
golden
man.
generation already. Don't let him waste this golden generation. Um, I guess before we conclude talking about the U.S. and going to Mexico here, um, there's been talk of the Copa America being held in the U.S. and
Hmm.
it was originally going to be held in Ecuador in 2024, but they backed out, and now I think the U.S. Federation, it's not official by any means, but they're kind of saying that they want to host it. Ideally, I would have liked for it to be somewhere in Europe so they could play, or Europe in South America, so they could play, in hostile environments that we're not really
Yeah,
used to. But definitely a Copa America here in the States would be beneficial for the US and Mexico, which I haven't really heard much from Mexico saying that they would join it. They had previous problems with Conmebol, when they didn't send their starting lineup and send
yeah,
subs. And so I don't know if they're in hot water with Conmebol or if it's water under the bridge now and they could join if it's held here. But definitely they should both teams join it, and especially for Mexico, which we'll start talking about them, focusing on them. we'll segue into them. You know, they didn't qualify for the Olympics. They don't have World Cup qualifying this year and or this cycle, and they didn't qualify, which they were normally really good at qualifying for the Youth World Cups. They missed out on, I think, the 17 or the U20 or maybe both.
Yeah.
So for them, Copa America is imperative. You know, we talked about them maybe trying to go as a guest to AFCON or Asian, uh, the Cup, but definitely, definitely to get some competitive games going that are not
Hmm.
just Nations League or not just games against El Salvador or
Freaking
Guatemala.
Suriname or something like that. Yeah, well, I looked
Yeah, or
at that.
Suriname. Yeah. So no, definitely, I think there's possibilities there for both teams to kind of play some competitive football in the next 4 years, even without the World Cup qualifying. But it's gonna be interesting to say the least how that develops.
Hmm. I mean, as far as the Copa America goes, I've read a couple of reports saying that the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, they're all on board for joining the Copa America, and I guess uh, if they joined, they also pondering the idea of maybe inviting two or three more CONCACAF teams, uh, just because of the number of teams that they need to
To make it
set
like
up groups.
16.
Yeah, to make
Yeah, because I
I
think they have
guess
10 right now, right?
I think Commonwealth has what? Yeah, 10 maybe.
I think it's 10, and that's why they always invite two to have 12,
Mm-hmm.
three groups of four.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And they only have quarterfinals, semis, and
yeah, it
great.
ends pretty
So,
quick.
mm-hmm.
But
It's
yeah,
a
no,
big
definitely.
tournament.
If we're able to get both teams in, that'd be great. And I kind of jumped the gun here. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
went to Mexico too quickly. There was one last segment I wanted to get to before we go to Mexico, um, and kind of wrap up this portion of the World Cup, discussion.
Mm-hmm.
For the U.S. team, which players do you think on the team are done? Which ones do you think have a future? I mean, I'll start off with I think Yedlin is done.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Long, Roldan, Morris,
mm-hmm.
Johnson. I don't know why those guys were even on the squad to begin
For
with.
real.
Acosta, and even though Ream said he's doesn't want to give up on the squad yet, I think at freaking 35, I don't think
Dude,
he's making
yeah,
it.
exactly. Like even if he manages to stay like at Fulham, playing, constantly on a
He's
starting
killing it there.
11.
To be fair, he's killing it.
Yeah, but he's 35. He's not gonna make it to 2026, man. And the team has to, the U.S. national team has to think of that specific goal. Who's gonna make it to 2026? He's not. So
For
yeah, I
sure.
agree with you. I was a huge fan of DeAndre Jedlin when he was coming up, but I think his time with the national team is over. Whatever he did to help it was great. I think it's time for him to step aside and be like, all right, I can be maybe a mentor for the next generation, but he shouldn't be playing anymore. I guess featuring on the team. Um, Sean Johnson, like I know he's a third keeper, but why? Um, Kelly Acosta, Jordan Moore, Jesus Ferreira. Look, Jesus Ferreira is young. I think I'm being harsh on him, but he didn't show anything at the World Cup. He got chosen over Ricardo Pepi, who is one of the biggest prospects in the U.S. Uh, football sphere. And granted, Berhalter put him to play against two freaking towers on that freaking quarterfinal game. But
Yeah,
come on, like show some grit. He didn't do anything.
for
I
sure.
so
He was
I
losing
think
balls. He was losing balls like crazy. He wasn't winning anything in the air. His hold up play was horrible. Yeah, I mean, it could have been just a bad day for him. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it was a coaching error, and he didn't show it, man.
and to me it's like right now you're in a position like whoever is the coach, right? The coach that comes, or even if it's Berhalter who's staying, the coach of the U.S. national team right now is in a position of if he wants, he can choose not to call up MLS players. As
Right.
simple as that. And I
I
think that
think
should
I
be the
think they
case.
have
Like
over
in
45 players in Europe at this point.
exactly. So like the MLS should be, your plan B. Like, okay, one of my uh 26 players in Europe it's injured. Let me bring this guy in, or like maybe as a supplement. But
Right.
if they like to me, it's like any player who's in the MLS shouldn't be considered on
For the
on
World
the
Cup.
U.S. national team. Yeah, for the World Cup at least. Exactly. As far as the future goes, um, I think it's pretty clear that Ty Adams and Weston McKennie should be the future of the U.S. national team. With the along with the names of Musa, I really like Aronson, even though he wasn't featured that often on the starting 11. I think when he jumped on the field, he put up a good performance. Of course, then you have the likes of Pulisic and Dest, who I think are the most talented players on the team. But what about Vickers and Haji Wright? Do you see him in the future of the U.S. national team?
Vickers for sure. He's a starter at Celtic, which is the most historic club out there. And he plays constantly. He did well, I think, in the game he played. I think it was against England where he played.
Yeah,
He did really well. He knows that style of play really well. I think he is actually born in Britain to U.S. serviceman dad. So he's young, and I think he definitely has a future as a starting center back there. Now that Ream's old and Zimmerman's 29
Freeman.
ish, probably shouldn't be
Yeah.
in the next World Cup. Maybe as a bench, but definitely, I definitely think he's the future for that position, at least for now. Maybe in the next 3.5 years, some new guy comes up and wins that position as well. But him and Wright again, that's probably we could do better in that position. We need to do better in that position. This country has over 350 million people. You're telling me we can't have somebody that scores goals constantly? So I think someone will come up here in the next 3.5 years that hopefully is hot by the time we start the World Cup and is on a streak. And yeah, that's definitely. I mean, will I say I don't want to see Wright play again? No, but he didn't show enough to prove to me that man, he's the dead on striker, starter.
Well, I mean,
So
he was kind of a surprise, right? I mean, he wasn't
yeah,
featuring that often on the U.S. national team, but I think Berhalter decided to call him up last minute because, of course, he realized he don't have a nine. And I think this guy was on a streak of consecutively scoring
yeah,
on the last, I don't know,
hmm,
like 5 or 6 games or whatever. So,
right.
I mean, I would say don't sleep on Haji Wright though. He's 24. He's playing it, a Turkey, which it
That's a
might not
hard
be the
league to
best
play
league,
in.
but
I mean, as
yeah,
a
I agree.
forward, it's very physical.
hmm I agree. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't sleep on him, but I agree with you. He didn't show that much to be, enthused about for sure.
yeah. All right, awesome, man. Good combo there about the USMNT. Brings us to our next topic here, la Selección Mexicana.
Man,
So I know you're gonna have a lot to say here. So now that we know for sure this isn't a team where we're debating is he going or is he staying. Tata's out. Tata's gone. So long. Bye. Good riddance. Thank you for nothing.
thank you for
Um,
nothing.
so who who is the media who are they saying is our candidates right now to take over, and who do you like to take over?
Sure. Look, there's shortly after they got eliminated, and I think we all knew that Tata was not gonna continue, regardless of the outcome of the World Cup, right? I think
Yep.
the only reason why he would have stayed if he made it to the quarterfinals and maybe to a potential semifinals, but if he had moved on to the best 16 and just stayed there, his contract lasted only 4 years, and he was pretty clear before the World Cup started that he wasn't gonna renew his contract no matter the outcome.
Yeah, he
As
wasn't
I
a
said,
long-term guy.
no, and as I said, he was already fed up with the whole media stuff. Like, I know that you say that the Mexican national team is an attractive gig, and I think it is because of how much money they make, how much money as a coach you will make. But at the same time, it's one of those jobs that is subject to a lot of scrutiny from the media. Hell, people say in Mexico that we we demand and expect more from la selección than the actual president. So um, yeah, it's one of those things. But
Yeah.
anyways, going back to the list, after Tata resigned, and we knew that he was gone. There was already a short list of coaches out there who media were mentioning and as possible candidates. It's literally a long list. There's like what, maybe eight of them that they're saying. The very first two is Almada and Ambriz. uh, Almada Pachuca's coach, Ambriz Toluca's coach. Then you also have Alfaro, who used to be, because he's
Ecuador.
no longer Ecuador's coach.
Yeah.
Tuca Ferretti, who's currently a free agent. Mauricio Pochettino, all right,
That's a
also
wild shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
also a free agent. And then Almeida, his name always gets thrown in,
Yeah.
it's just because of whatever he did with Chivas, but
With Chivas. Yeah.
uh, yeah, man, I think very little of that guy. Um,
Yeah. He was
Mojamon,
horrible. San Jose Earthquakes.
yeah, dude, he sucked ass. But I guess he's doing okay with on in currently in Greece. He's the coach of AEK Athens, and he's coaching over Orolin Pineda. So,
Yeah.
and then we have Antonio Mohamed, who's a free agent right now. I also think very little of him. And then one of the names they're throwing out there that I think is a very long stretch. It's the Professor Juan Carlos Osorio, who I miss so much. I miss him so much. He was a chosen one for sure. But from this list, like before we go deeper into it, any names that grabbed your attention?
You know, before I go into that, I also heard these are probably long shots as well, but not long shots because they're amazing coaches, but long shots because they've been coaches before. I know I heard on Football Picante Hugo Sanchez kind of throw his name in the hat that he might want to be
Um,
back, and
yeah,
El Piojo Herrera might also be considering it. But
man,
yeah, go ahead.
freaking Piojo, dude. He's a quick one to say, I'm ready for the national team again. Dude, let it go.
So
Move
you
on
wouldn't
from your
want
national
two
team.
Piojos on the team?
Piojo Alvarado, dude. We'll touch that name later on, but I just don't think it. Look, I see why people want El Piojo Herrera as the national coach, but I think he had his chance, and he wasted it.
Yeah.
Stupidly
No,
wasted it. So
I agree. Going through this list you provided here,
mhm,
Tuca, I love him for what he did with Tigres, our golden generation, our best 10
yeah.
years of football. But towards the end of his spell at Tigres and when he was coach of Juarez, uh, he
Oh man,
he
yeah.
played some Tucamion ball, and it is some of the most boring soccer you could see, and there's no way we go with that, right? I mean, no way. um
Hell no.
who I
Mm-mm.
like from here is Pachuca's coach Almada.
Yeah.
I think he knows very well the league. I like how he plays. He plays a really possession based, pretty quick, one touch ball, kind of to the point of kind of how Guardiola likes to play. Obviously, not to that level, but
He's fast.
yeah, I know when we were talking off camera about this, you kind of told me that like Guardiola, he would be a crazy candidate, a cool candidate to have, right? But
Hmm.
can he adapt to only seeing his players once
Yeah.
every month? Can he get that style of play that he plays so well at Pachuca with those
Hmm.
guys? I think he can because he knows many of the players already. Not like Guardiola coming to the States and not knowing a lot of these guys. He knows them. He knows the Liga MX. He deals with the scrutiny of the media, obviously not to the point of the director de la selección, but he knows how it is down there. He knows, he deals with la federación down there, again, not to that extravagant point of the director, but I think he would be a good candidate for sure. He's my favorite to take over. I think he's earned it. But if not him, who else do you have thinking?
Look, so I guess before I make my point is the one thing that I want to express is the Mexican national team coach job is a uh, it's a very convoluted job. And what I mean by convoluted is you have to have someone that first of all has a good knowledge of Liga MX, because
Yep.
no matter what you do, at least a third of your team is gonna come from Liga MX players, and most likely
And
those
the
are
presidents are always have a big voice, right? The presidents of each team,
yeah,
they have like a
exactly. And
huge
so
influence.
you're gonna have to be dealing with that with owners and presidents of each club trying to put their players in, and most of the time, I would say at least 40% of the time, maybe not most, but 40% of the time, you're gonna end up having to play with nothing but Liga MX squads
Yep.
because of the European players not willing to come for partidos moleros like against Suriname or freaking San Kitts and Nevis or whatever. So on those occasions, you will have to play with a Liga MX starting 11. So you need someone that has that knowledge. Second of all, you need someone who also understands the Mexican player perspective and what's the current situation with them. I don't think the likes of Tata Martino or Mauricio Pochettino, Alfaro, those who have mainly uh, coached on Europe and perhaps like in specific countries in South America, really understand the the background of the Mexican player. It's very different from a South American style of a player. Like their mindset is completely different. They are not built to be coached as a European player, as a European based player. So there's a lot of like finagling on making sure that you cater to their personalities, you cater to their physical needs, you cater to their emotions. Like there's a lot of things that this coach needs to know about the Mexican national player. And the third thing that I consider to be of value for whoever is the coach is someone who can withstand the uh, the massive push of the media and controversy and drama that comes from being the national coach for Mexico. So those three things are like the top of my list for the candidates. Now, keeping these three things in consideration, there's only three reasonable candidates that I think are the best options for Mexico. The first one and my favorite one right now is Almada. I agree with you. I think he's the best option. I have the same concern. I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to implement his style of game with only having X amount of time with the players. Um, and I also, my big question is like I know he can deal with the Liga MX press and media, but I'm not too sure if he can withstand the backlash of being a non-Mexican, non-national coach behind the Mexican national team. And Almada is well known for being like a very passionate guy, and he has spats and reactions that aren't necessarily the best fit for someone who will be
Right.
under a lot of pressure,
Right.
by taking that specific job. So that would be my only my only I guess concerns with him.
And he's
Nacho,
Argentino as well, right?
I think he's from Uruguay.
Oh, he's Uruguay. Okay.
Yeah, he's from Uruguay. So I mean, I'm gonna say something cheesy about this that freaking garra charrua or whatever. But he has shown to be an effective coach. He made Santos an attractive side. He made Pachuca an attractive side. He is a coach who favors young players,
Yeah. Hmm.
which is something that I really like, and I think it's something that Mexico needs. And I also think that he's like a no nonsense guy, right? I think that even if unfortunately, the Mexican national team has a lot of ties with like sponsors and whatnot, and it's well known that sponsors sometimes demand their players to be featured on the national team. And I think Almada will be the kind of coach who will say, hell no, I'm going to play who I think is in the best spot, right? But at the same time, is it going to be able to handle that heat? I don't know. To me,
Right.
it's like he might be able to withstand it for a year and then say, you know what, I don't need this. Screw y'all, I'm out. So I we'll see. As far as Nacho Ambriz go, I think he's also a good option. Um, he he has an extensive knowledge of the Mexican player. He used to be a Mexican national player too, so there's no doubt that he understands the background of the Mexican player. He has coached in Mexico. He's a champion in Mexico with Leon. He also actually studied abroad. I think he has a UEFA Pro or UEFA Class A uh, coaching certificate, and he was also part of the coaching team for Javier Aguirre while he was at Atlético de Madrid.
Atlético Madrid,
So,
yeah.
yeah, and I think he also understands the media and fans. The only downside that I see with him, and this is a rumor rather than I guess a reality or true, is that pundits have been saying for the longest time that Nacho Ambriz struggles handling big personalities. Like he's not a coach who really knows how to tame or manage, stars or divas on the team. So, that's one of the reasons why he didn't get the job at Tigres, because the people say that it's a locker room full of stars, and that Nacho Ambriz was not gonna, he was not gonna fit. Like players they weren't gonna heat to his command. So that's the
Yeah.
one thing. And I mean the last one, and this is just my wish, is Juan Carlos Osorio. Right? I think at the end of the day, Doña Fede y sus amigos, they have to realize that they made the biggest mistake by releasing Juan Carlos Osorio. I think Juan Carlos Osorio would have done a better job than Tata Martino. I feel that he has expressed interest of coming back as a Mexican national team coach,
Yeah.
um, and I think they should snatch him. But uh, I I think that that's not going to happen. That's most likely is not going to be the route they take. Um, but yeah, I those are the three guys that I think have the lead on the job.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. All the other ones seem to be either, like you said, European based that, won't know what they're getting into, might get in there and quit after a month, or just, not knowledgeable enough to know about Liga MX. And, although the directivos and all those guys, the higher ups are idiots, I don't think they're dumb enough to hire someone that really does not know how to, like you said, handle the Mexican player, or handle the media, or at least know something about La Liga MX
Yeah,
that is so
you don't want another Sven-Goran Eriksson.
difficult. Yeah, exactly. God, what was that? Um, all right, awesome. So, real quick, so we did it for the U.S., not for Mexico. Which players do you think have a future in the national team? Which ones do you think are done, and which ones are kind of like maybe?
Look, I'm gonna be very direct and quick with this. Done. All keepers, like the three keepers, all of them are like above 35 years old. They shouldn't be featured whatsoever. Andres
Acevedo should have been a
Guardados,
backup there, man. At
hell yeah,
least.
man, he should have been the second keeper or third keeper, whatever. Just take him, just
Yeah.
take him. Andres Guardados out. Henry Martin, thanks but no thanks. Please be gone. Raúl Jimenez, look, we love you. We're all gonna cherish your goal against Panama. That bicycle kick
Yeah.
was great,
Hmm.
but it's time for you to move on, man. You're not the same after that
Yeah.
encounter with David Luis,
David Lolis.
and
Yeah.
exactly, it's time for you to move on. Hector Herrera, Héctor Moreno, Jesús Gallardo, Néstor Araujo, Funes Muerto, Charlie Rodriguez. What a fucking drag, Charlie Rodriguez, man. Like, I don't know what happened to that guy. He was supposed to be a hot talent. He's been nothing but shit for the last year and a half. Um, yeah, all of these guys have to go. I don't want to see I don't want to see any 30-year-old players in the Mexican national team. I don't want to see more relics. I don't want to see, coaches paying respect to the Guardado likes and the
The
freaking Ochoa likes.
legacies. Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. I'm done with it, man. It's over. Every single freaking Mexican national team has to have that old player just because he makes the locker room better. Fuck that. I don't want that anymore. I'm done with that shit.
Yeah, no, I agree. Get the old guys out, implement some new blood. Keep, I think, Alexis Vega, who proved his worth. Luis Chavez,
Yeah, definitely.
Montes, yeah, Orbelin. I know Chucky didn't have the best World Cup, but I mean he's still young and he still has abilities there that we can utilize. Um, what about some of the people that didn't get chosen, like Santi
Lightness.
Jimenez, Lainez,
Yeah.
Marcelo Flores,
Córdoba, dude. Santiago Córdoba.
Cordova? Hmm.
hmm Uh, so yeah, I mean, those are all future eligible players for the Mexican national team. Unfortunately, Linus hasn't had the best breakthrough like a breakthrough at all in Europe. Um, but I think he's still at that age where even if he comes back to Mexico, he still has time to go back to Europe to a decent side and play. Uh, I think we all agree that the new leader of this future national team should be Edson Alvarez, El Machín.
Oh yeah,
That guy has proven himself for the last 4 years. Even in 2018, you saw how he progressed. He has become uh, a regular feature for Ajax, and he's even wanted by Chelsea.
yeah.
Like
Why didn't he play against Argentina?
only God knows, man. I honestly, I don't see why he wasn't even featured in every single game. He should have been, part of the starting 11. Then you have the likes of Eric Gutierrez, Jorge Sanchez, Johan
Yeah,
Vasquez, or you mentioned Orbelín Pineda. There's one that I really like that unfortunately didn't get enough playtime or playtime at all. He played 0 minutes on the World Cup, and that's Gerardo Arteaga.
hmm,
Gerardo Arteaga plays for Genk in Belgium.
yeah.
You should definitely check him out. He's a great player. He's solid. He's consistent. He's fast. He knows how to cross, and he also has long distance shot. Sorry.
And he
Um,
gets minutes at a Champions League caliber team.
exactly. So he's at a competitive team playing against high talent, good talent because the Belgium league is known to be a seeder for other
Right, right.
more competitive
Hmm.
leagues. Exactly. So
But
he's
Genk is
they
definitely the best team there.
definitely. So he's competing for a spot against top-notch talent from Africa, from Asia, from South America. So
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
he even if he stays at Genk for the next 4 years, he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be way better than I don't know, someone who's playing for Puebla or someone who's playing for Chivas, right? Or
Yeah.
even hell at MLS. So yeah, those are the players that I think have a future for in the national team, at least for the next World Cup. I don't know if they're going to be around for 2030. Some of them might because some of them are like 21 right now.
Right.
But like the likes of Luis Chavez, Cesar Montes, El Machin, they might not be around for 2030, or they might be on the last legs of
Decline. Yeah.
their of their career. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what I would like to see, man.
For sure. No, that's a good list there. And I think we're going to go way more in depth here in future episodes about these players, about any transfers they make, about other
Sure.
players that really didn't even feature or are coming up, or you know that's what this podcast is about. USMNT, La Selección Mexicana. So I mean, if y'all like what y'all are here, and make sure again to keep following us and subscribe and click that like button. But before we go, man, there's a big game coming up this weekend,
I know.
the
Yes.
biggest game in the world, the World Cup final between Argentina and France.
hmm
Real quick before we go, give me a prediction, man.
I think that Argentina is going to take it all the way home, and I think it's going to be like a 2-1, like 3-2, like just a goal difference score. It's going to
Extra
be a
time
tight
or no
one.
extra time?
I don't think it's going to be extra time. I think it's going to be a 90 minute game. What about
I
you?
I don't think it's gonna be extra time either. I think it's gonna be high scoring. It's probably gonna be 3-2. I can't tell you who's gonna win. I have no idea. But if you tell me to give you a prediction, I'm gonna have to say Argentina as well. Even though That's what my heart says because I'm by no means the biggest Messi fan, but I think it's written in the stars that he's gonna win it. But
Yeah,
my
yeah,
brain says that France wins it just because I think France is a better squad. But if Messi wins it, will he be cemented as the GOAT in your eye?
definitely. I think if he takes it home and he wins the World Cup, the GOAT debate, it's over. He is the greatest player of all time. Period. Like
I
there's no
agree.
doubt,
I agree.
no
If he
doubt
wins it,
whatsoever.
definitely. Um, Mbappe, is he the best player in the world currently?
You know what? Well, I guess the freaking Ballon d'Or went to Lewandowski, right? Last year.
And then
But
this
I
year,
think,
Benzema.
yeah, this year Benzema. But
No, no,
I
Lewandowski didn't
honestly,
get it. Remember, he got robbed.
oh, that is
It was
true.
Messi that
That is
got
true.
it, and then Karim Benzema got it this year.
Karim Benzema. Well, I mean, honestly, I think Mbappe, it's perhaps the like productivity wise and contribution wise, I think he's the best player right now just because he's not only good individually speaking, but he plays for the team. He's not a selfish player. Um, I don't think he's a show off in any way. Um, so yeah, I think he's the best current player. Maybe there's an argument for Erling Haaland, but you
Right.
know, yeah, Erling Haaland's not
Regardless,
playing for France.
if he wins his second World Cup at age 23, that'd be insane. And
Dude, that
we're
would
gonna
be insane. Yeah, big time.
we'll find out this weekend, man. All
Hmm.
right. Well, Adrian, always a pleasure, man. Thanks for being on. You know, everybody, thanks for watching Puro Pinche Gol here with us. This has been a great episode, and we discussed a lot here. Make sure you follow us for the next one. We're going to be discussing the World Cup final and the World Cup in general. All the shocks, all the upsets, all the who lived up to the hype, who didn't.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, follow us, and for all y'all's USMNT and La Selección Mexicana information here in these debates that we have. Um, and after that, episode 4, we're gonna have a special guest. We're gonna be discussing World Cup refereeing and VAR. We're gonna have an official FIFA referee join us to discuss, his thoughts and a lot of big accomplishments in the World Cup this year with refereeing. As we had a first all female ref
Yeah,
team, so that should be a fun one. So
and
stay
the inclusion
tuned.
of that offside technology or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go into great detail with that. So stay tuned for that, and be sure to catch us on the next one. Follow us, subscribe, hit that like button, and see you guys later.
Take it easy, guys.